Go ahead and get started. Anyone who's joining us late is more than welcome to. We just want to start getting this ball rolling. So first, I would like to thank everyone for joining us here, our panelists included. Thank you for giving your time to be here. And for our attendees as well, thank you. So this program tonight is part of Women's History Month programs here at the library. We have a lot of really great programs that'll be going on, all virtual for now, but we have other programs that'll be going on throughout the month. And on Thursday, we'll be having another creative experience virtual program, which is the part of the department that, or part of the library department that is hosting this program here tonight. And that will be feminist posters that teens and adults will be able to design in Photoshop and be able to print for free. So it's a really, really great program. So that'll be later this week, and that is a free program, as are all the programs here at the library. This is, I believe, this is our fourth or fifth artist panel, which is great. This is a program that we've done anytime we've had some type of Heritage Month. So we did it for Hispanic Heritage Month, Black History Month, and now Women's History Month. And we'll also be doing it for Asian American Pacific Islander Month and for Pride Month as well, for those under the umbrella of LGBTQIA. So very, very great program. We want to highlight local artists. All of our artists here are either St. Louis natives, transplants, those who have roots and current ties to the city. It's really great to have these artists here. These are artists that you may be familiar with, or you might not be familiar with, at least not all of them. So hopefully you leave here tonight and you're able to talk to someone else about some great art. You're able to look into the art that they have, or any upcoming art shows, workshops, teaching that they're going to have, just in general, now that these people are on your radar. So that's kind of our goal with this program. For this tonight's program, we're in a webinar style. So unlike in a lot of Zoom programs you might have been at the library, you have to worry about having your camera on or being recorded. You don't have to worry about any of that. Because the only people who are on camera are going to be our panelists and myself. If you have any questions, you can drop them in our chat, or you can use the Q&A feature. At the end of our panel discussion, we'll be answering any questions that you have, but feel free to add any comments as we go through the discussion as well. Chime in with any thoughts. Feel free to drop those in the chat or in the Q&A feature, or just sit back and enjoy and listen to our wonderful artists share their thoughts and opinions. We are going to have our artists introduce themselves, so that way if you're not familiar with them, you'll get a little bit of background on them, and you'll learn even more about them through our discussion. So without further ado, I believe Trina is going to start us off.
Hi, everybody. I'm Trina. I'm from St. Louis, the South Side specifically. And I'm a photographer, but I spend majority of my day running social media platforms for brands. So yeah, I'm that 9 to 5 girl hustle after her 5 p.m. shift is over.
Awesome. Thank you, Trina. Who would like to go next, Allison? Or?
I can go next.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Allison Sissom. As in my artist name, I typically go by Allison K. Sissom. So you might see both of those. I do have some of my artwork. I'm primarily a collage artist, meaning that I used found materials to make my work. So let me go ahead and share my screen. And I'm just going to show you my website and some of my most recent work. So move this out of the way. Yeah, so this is all work that I've created since the pandemic. It was a very interesting time for me creatively. So I felt lots of dread. And one of the things that I started was this series called Deathscapes. So this one on the top left is about people who die while they're summiting Mount Everest. The next two works, the ones with the moon and the staircase, and then this one down here with the penguins and the moon, that was a commission for a friend. Same with this one, this dog and baseball and music inspired work, that was for a friend's adult. And then these are some of my originals that aren't commissions, reworked. And a lot of my work since 2020 has been focusing on layering. So I have an original collage that you can see that's in the matted frame, and then I build on top of it. This one specifically, the yellow flowers, I actually glued those to the glass frame. So, but most of them I've been mounting on like foam core. So they're just kind of like little propped up layers things. This is definitely a very much pandemic, how I feel about things piling up around me. And then, yeah, just some other work that I've done. Some things that I try to steer away from is characters that are too familiar. But you can see I'm definitely like an animal, plants, bugs kind of person, a lot of natural things. Other than that, I typically try to match the work that I make with the environment that it's in. So if the original picture is like from Montana, then I'm like, okay, I'll put like plants that are from Montana or native to them. I'm trying to be more true to what I'm displaying. Trying to think if there's anything else. I don't know. That's like a crash course in Allison.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Allison. Who would like to go next? Katarra, Luisa, Delia. Katarra? Okay. Okay.
My name is Katarra. Pronounced Katarra. I know Katarra is from Avatar. She stole my name. I'm a musician, singer, songwriter, and producer. And I am originally born and raised from St. Louis. Grew up on the west side and then spent the past 15 years of my life on the south side. So I feel that south side love definitely. I can definitely just show you guys my YouTube channel real quick if it allows me to do that. I am on my phone, so we'll see how this goes. Okay. But yes, I usually just write just ballads, and I do a plethora of different types of genres, from jazz, soul, neo soul, hip hop influences, classical influences. And I actually just had it. There we go. But this is my channel. It'll be coming up in a little bit if you guys want to check it out. Otherwise, you can go to www.katarramusic.com. And you can see basically everything on me, all of the music that I've put out and all of that. So it's not letting me get it on pulled up, but you know, you're free to go ahead and go to my YouTube channel and check me out, see what I got. All complete originals written by me. So yes, that's me.
I think you might still be sharing your screen.
Let me turn this off.
Perfect.
Okay, I'm back.
Awesome. Thank you, Katarra. Thank you for sharing. And as you can see, Allison has dropped her website in there. If you want to drop the link to your YouTube channel in the same way, go for it. Delia, Luisa.
I can go.
Okay.
Hi everybody. My name is Delia Rainey. I'm also from St. Louis. I grew up in Olivet near U City, and now I live in South City near Cherokee Street and South Grand. So yay. So I'm also a musician. I have a band called Dub Nub, and we've been playing shows in St. Louis for a really long time. It's actually been a band since I was in high school, and now I'm almost 30 years old. But anyway, I'm also a writer, and that is an art practice that is I've been spending a lot of time with recently. I just got my MFA in creative writing with an emphasis in nonfiction at Columbia College Chicago this past year. So I was living in Chicago for a little bit, studying nonfiction specifically. And I also do music writing. I've been writing for a indie music blog and I write for me and my friend have a blog called St. Louis Music Report. But that's like more of like fun music journalism side, but my creative, like my personal practice is, it's kind of like it's like memoir, personal narrative, and I really like experimental nonfiction forms. And I just came out with my first physical chapbook this year through Bottle Cap Press. It's called Crumb Book. A chapbook is like, if you're not familiar, it's like a very short book. It's only like 20 or 30 pages long. And so this is a work of lyrical nonfiction, and I wrote it during the pandemic, and it details mundane experiences and trying to decipher interior experience and exterior experience. I write a lot about walking around the park and thinking about the park as a non-capitalistic space where you get to see other people and other people's lives are real in the city. So yeah, I wrote this recently if you ever want to check it out. I also have other writing online on literary. I get published in literary magazines frequently-ish. So I'll shoot my website in the chat as well. And yeah, and you can catch my band around town. We're actually playing a show at Off Broadway on Thursday.
Awesome. Thank you, Delia. Luisa, last but certainly not least.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I am Luisa Otero Prada. I am a visual artist, and I live in St. Louis since 2004. So it means almost 18 years ago. I call St. Louis my home. This is my home, love St. Louis, and appreciate a lot of the history, a lot of the good things that are in St. Louis, especially people. I want to share, and I'm going to be talking a little bit about my art and what inspired me to. Let me know if you can see my screen. Correct? Okay. And I want to see. I'm sorry. This is not the one. No, that's not the one I want. Oh, sorry. I'm gonna share another version. Okay. I think. Okay. So, like I said, I was born in Colombia, South America. My life was totally immersed in art as a child. I love art. I love books. I was a reader. I was a good student, and so I was always passionate about art. And my parents and everybody was really, working with me with that. I went to architecture school and graduated from as an architect, and long time ago. But life brought me to St. Louis, and like I said, since 2004, I came to St. Louis to start a totally new life. Mostly because of my son has a neurogenetic condition, and that was very important for me to be sure that he was going to have the resources and everything that we need to help him. So that's why life brought me to St. Louis. There was a time that then, during those times that everything was about him, therapists, neurologists, doctors, I remember like, okay, what I want to do with my life when I was a child. And I remember I always want to be an artist. I always said, when I retire, I'm going to be an artist. And then I said, it's time to retire now then, because I find out that I didn't want to get to any other job. I didn't want to, it was still, learning the language, learning the city, learning all the different world, it was okay. I mean, I was embracing everything. I love it. I love changes. I am a flexible person. But at the same time, it was like, okay, I can start focus a little bit about in me. And I say, okay, I'm going to retire. I'm going to be the artist that I always say I was going to be. Since I wasn't 60 by then, but I was kind of more than 40 years old. So I put my name and the title artist next to my name. I was lucky, and at the beginning I started to paint with nostalgia. I started to paint things that remind me of things from my town where I grew up. But then I started to know or to find things that were common between St. Louis and my hometown. One of the things is summer. Summer in St. Louis is very hot, very humid, and that's where I grew up. Where I grew up is just hot and humid all year round. It's just eternal St. Louis summer. So I was like, okay, I start to find in summertime these flowers, these plants that were, I start to find them in gardens and different places of the city. And I was like, very, very mesmerized about why they were here. And I got a connection. So I started a series of paintings called Naturalize. And then I started to research about the word. That's the word it's called in botanical. When a plant survive or establish in another climate that is not their original climate, is called naturalize. And that was the same word that they gave me when I became USA citizen. So I'm naturalized. So I start to kind of think about, we are, or, migrations and naturalizations is really, is something natural. It's something that is in humanity. It's not just like, it's the way life goes. And some people became an immigrant for love. Some people became immigrant for other situations. So it's not, so this is a series that I start. It's like an ongoing series. I want to make this like a big project and kind of study a lot other plants and flowers that are naturalized from different places of the world here in USA and especially St. Louis. So this is a picture of one of my shows. This is my 5 lovely paintings because I love them. No. So and they are all, this is a garden, the garden of my sister-in-law. This is, and you can see the same plants that are in the river is this plant that is here that I found in St. Louis later. So my art is inspired by people, is inspired by nature, also by literature. Sometimes I write a few verses, a few poems, but I am more moved for other people's, somebody else's words. And so sometimes I just interpret a poem or something, and I just became an abstract painter. Like sometimes I am realistic, sometimes abstract. I used to call the word or my art as a magic realism, because I think it's not like it's something surreal or something weird. It's just finding the magic in the real life or in the everyday life. So it's like a twist in the term, but I think I like, for example, a glimpse of light or one movement, or so that I find that very mesmerizing and makes me paint sometimes on things. I also like people. This is one of my favorite portraits. These children, these girls are now grown up, but they are sisters, and I love them. And I think that was kind of the first portrait I painted. In my practice as an artist, in one point I realized I don't want to be by myself painting at home. I want to be an artist. I want to be involved with my city. I want to be involved with people and be connected with everybody that I can in a positive way and through art. So sometimes I am a teaching artist, and this moment I am an artist in residence for Cecilia School, and that's through an organization that is called Art Scope. So I am the art teacher for this school year. I also do art workshops, and I do workshops for art fairs or the Hispanic festival every year. Also, I try to do something that is called like art experience. Everybody, we're all artists. So you always find people that say, oh, I used to paint, I love to paint, but I didn't do that anymore. So I like the painting parties idea. But I also like the immersion, or just give away something from my culture, or just something from pre-Columbian culture or Native American culture, which is meaning from South America, which is the culture, the native culture that I come from. But at the same time, something close like the Mexican culture. Sometimes I participate as a Hispanic artist in San Luis scene, and at the same time I learn a lot. About other artists, another activity that I do right now is I am the coordinator of the Youth Initiative Program. I work with Bread and Roses. It's an organization that intersects art and social justice. And here's like a brief, maybe too much words. It's just Bread and Roses use art to examine social and economic justice in the program and the lessons. So pretty much we are giving like a free art instruction and free art supplies to summer camps that are established in the city and the county right now. So we're looking for locations where we can bring our art and our lessons. And it's not like it's for youth between 7 and 12. So we start just with the idea to giving them a voice, just teach them or show them, you have a voice, and I'll show you that you can be active in make things happen in life, in your neighborhood or in your community. And this is, I don't know if I am beyond 5 minutes, but briefly, this is the first mural I designed and painted with the artists and Suka Arts Guild. And those are flowers from Missouri, native from Missouri. So I remember, I know what, when you say that, I also like to value where I am, and, to showcase native flora and fauna. This is a wall where we created. The last mural I created I created with the Latinx Arts San Luis. There was a group of 4 women that took this project since we thought that we want to make like public art piece in San Luis as a Latinx artist. So this is on Del Mar Boulevard, and I just want to these are my friend artists from San Luis and the Latinx Arts coordinator, that we were the creators of this mural, and it took us 2 years since we start to think about it, until we saw that the final. This is my son, and this is the portrait of my son Nicholas, which is who brought me here. So he's always there. And this is a painting, one of my last paintings, which is my husband, and he's a hummingbird lover, and he's dreaming about hummingbirds here. And this is my website, oteropradallc.com. I'm going to put it on the chat.
All right, thank you so much, everyone, for introducing yourselves. I feel like we learned a lot about each other, and we'll learn even more through our panel discussion questions. Again, for our attendees tonight, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to put them in the chat. And you can also put any questions you have in the Q&A. We'll address any questions that we have at the end of our discussion. So feel free to put those in as they come to you, even though we won't address them till later. I don't want anyone to forget a question that they had. So feel free to ask it, and we'll go back and make sure that we've answered any questions. I think everyone, what we have in the chat right now is just where people put their websites in, which is great. Thank you. Katarra, you actually just sent your website just to the hosts and panelists. If you want to resend it, where if you change it to like everyone, then our attendees can also get that. I think everyone else has got it in. Perfect. All right, so to begin, our first question for the panel. I recently read something written by comedian and actor Jess Below titled "I Make Art for Women and I Don't Care If Men Like It." In it, she describes her experiences with making art that appeals to the masses rather than make art that she personally identifies with, such as making jokes about menstruation or being a bisexual woman. Do you make art with the intention of appealing to everyone, or do you make it for yourself and others like you? And whoever wants to start, go right ahead.
Oh, sorry, I need to turn my my camera on. I was just gonna say, I don't know, I don't really think about the audience that much. I think about more like the impact that happens afterwards. You know, like my main goal, whether if it's as a photographer or in my career, is to inspire people to take action. However, I will hope to at least align with like-minded people. I don't really know what to say specifically because we're human beings. We're not a monolith. So like, and also there's so many different topics to like touch on. But my main goal is to inspire people who want and should take action. And anybody could do that.
I think for me, I'm really making it for me and not even necessarily people like me. I'm just like, I have a thing that I need to get out and need to share. And a lot of my artwork, even though it has a very specific, aesthetic and end goal, a lot of it is really just about me trying to piece things together, like literally and also metaphorically, and trying to make sense of the things around me. I think one thing that I try to be in tune with is making my art like reflect the world and not just my perspective. I think so maybe that's like the opposite view, but I want it to reflect anyone who looks at it. A lot of the times, because my source material comes from children's literature and children's books, that it appeals very closely to children and kids, which is great. And so just trying to be a little bit better about like making sure like everybody can like see themselves in this work.
I think art has two purposes. The first purpose is for me, and of course, it's the way I express or the way I just have a connection or a moment. For me, sometimes art is like meditation. I just get lost in what I'm doing. Even no, initially maybe I'm doing a flower, and it's like because I like it, or because the reason that I explain, but because who don't like nature, but when I get submerged in the action of painting, it's just sometimes time just go by and I don't really realize how much time it was. And the other purpose of the art is for who is observing the art. So many times people see things that I even never thought about. But I think the purpose of the art is for me is like for her to touch something in people's heart or people's soul. It's not like a strong message. It's just something that I wanted to be subtle, something to be really, really like wow, or remember something or made you think about something that touched you in the past. So I think that's what I think that is the purpose of my art, or what I wanted to happen. And because I always paint some things that move me a lot. So if it kind of move people a little bit, somebody a little bit, that will be for me like a great, that the purpose is fulfilled.
Yeah, I like what you said about other people seeing different things in your work. And I feel like that happens to me all the time. People will make connections that I never intentionally made. And so that's always like a really good point of reflection, is to like get feedback from other people to see what they see in it. And I always really enjoy hearing that.
Yes.
Yeah, I definitely think that's my favorite part as well. It's like when I initially write something or make something, it's my own thought process, but then people come back and tell me how they interpreted the lyrics, how they interpreted the feel of the song overall. So that is one of my favorite parts. And what I wrote for this question is I usually make art initially for myself. It's kind of a cathartic self-expression thing for me. I use it as a way to process like really intense emotions that I have. I'm a hypersensitive person. So anything that happens in my life, some type of life situation that goes on, that's just kind of how I process it, is through making music, making art, whatever creative outlet I can find really, but it's mainly music definitely. And it's after I feel like the emotional and physical impact from it that I realized that it could appeal to everybody. And then being that most of my art is about situations, thoughts, fears that all humans go through, in an indirect way, I see that it's for the masses, because I realize when I put it out into the world, people come back and tell me how much they relate to what I'm saying, what I'm feeling, how intense, how they feel those intense emotions as well. So overall, I initially make it for myself, but the next part of my process involves distributing, giving it out to the masses.
Yeah, I'm gonna echo all of everyone saying that it's always, art making is for myself first. For like Allison was saying, I mean, my writing is also kind of like a collage, and it is about trying to figure something out, and trying to make sense of the world. But I had a really intense realization when I was working on my thesis manuscript, because I wrote a lot about my family, and then I kind of realized that I was writing it for them. And I think my work is a lot about community, and I've really kind of been at peace with that. My audience is my family and friends, and then if anyone else likes my work too, like that's like yeah, cool. But yeah, I don't know. But to answer the part of the question about do you want your art to appeal to everyone, I think it's important for my writing to be accessible, and I don't film my work, I don't really talk with like academic jargon or like inaccessible words. So like I like to write, I mean, in like poetic way, but kind of similar to how I talk. And I think that just like how Luisa said that like art is like everyone's an artist, like I feel like everyone should be able to read a book and like understand it and feel emotions from it.
Oh, absolutely. I think accessibility is something that's really important to me. I don't know why I didn't say this during my intro, but I'm also an art teacher, and that's like really important to my art practice, which is hilarious that I left it out. But yeah, breaking down the barriers for people to be able to comfortably view and talk about art. I've had the experience of like friends that I didn't know, like had never been to like a sculpture park, and I was like, oh my God, what's wrong with you? Like, and they were just intimidated. They just like they felt like it wasn't a space for them. So that totally resonates with me, is making work that's accessible to all sorts of people.
Oh, I just wanted to tap in on that. Yeah, like I do a lot of writing in my work as well too. And I'm like, I used to get like like I never learned how to like write a paper till like I got to college, and the best way I learned is to just write whatever you like, however you would say it, and then you could go back and revise it. Sorry, that was so off topic from the question, but that just really rang a core memory.
I remember something that with Delia talk about family. She was doing art for her family. Like right now, one of the intentions when I do art is to honor my ancestors. My indigenous ancestors. I am not like totally indigenous. I didn't grow up in an indigenous environment, but I have indigenous blood, and I feel it because I feel it, the connection with the craft. Feel the connections with the parents. I feel the connections with so many things, and with the music. And then, but they were almost, Esther, they were almost just disappeared from the face of earth, and their civilizations were just known by the majority of the world. So I, in a little way, I want to honor and have something from my pre-Columbian ancestors in my art. So that's why I use a lot of gold when I do it.
I agree with you on that. My grandfathers who got me into photography and like taught me everything, and he got into photography because of the erasure from the Vietnam War. Like if you had anything, any sort of file that goes against propaganda, even family photos, that you had to burn it or they'll control alt delete you. And so, like I think that's the important thing about art. It's archiving what's going on with history. And, we can't go back and figure things out, but history is right now too. So I love that you do that with your art. And I don't know, it's going to leave like a huge print in this world.
Thank you.
Any other last thoughts on this question? Awesome. Well, thank you everyone for sharing some really great perspectives there. So our second question here, there's a perspective that I've read on art that states that there's no originality in art because you've seen other paintings, listened to other music, read other poems, and so on. You cannot truly create an original piece of art because you're influenced by everything around you. Do you agree or disagree, and why?
I've got a lot of strong feelings about this one, so maybe I shouldn't go first.
I 100% agree. I don't know, like I feel like life is meant to be lived, and like, why can't I just absorb this and embrace it? But there's a fine line between like jockeying somebody and then also being inspired. However, I think it all depends on intent, and I don't know, like energy reflects off of that. Like you never know who has good or bad intent, but I feel like you can definitely tell by their energy. And I don't know, I'm also like, this is also against like, like bringing it up, like there's a fine line between copying and being inspired. But like when it comes to being inspired, I'm like, why can't we all play? Why can't we have our own interpretation? If art is for everybody, then like, why can't we do it our own way? And I don't know, like it's it's also like this whole, like I also feel like it's not about who did it first, it's about who did it right. And I feel like a lot of the people who tend to come for those who do that, like, like I just don't see the point of being attached. Ideas come and go. Why can't you get another one too?
Yeah,
I also want to emphasize. Oh, sorry. I also want to emphasize that does not apply when it comes to appropriation and everything else.
Yes.
I definitely agree with Trina as far as I said yes and no. I definitely said it depends on the artist and their intentions. their learned creative process, and the source of their inspiration. Because to a certain degree, yes, nothing is truly original. Like even when a creation comes directly from your mind, it's all subconsciously influenced by something external. Everything that's been created in general is influenced by things that already exist. It's kind of a habit of humanity, from rockets to airplanes to birds. Most of what man has invented is inspired by nature. But then I also say, but to assume that nothing is truly original is kind of too broad and it's limiting to human capability. I believe in originality in the sense that even with external influences, whatever one authentically creates from their mind really is their own. For example, as a kid, I grew up constantly hearing like Stevie Wonder's music. Like I knew his voice, I knew his sound before I even knew this man's name. And now as an adult and experienced musician, I'm aware of how his sound has molded how I process like random melodies and chord progressions. But the thing is, he is one of many thousands and thousands of musicians and influences that gave birth to who I am as a musician today. Like from my mom singing in choir to sounds of nature to nursery rhymes to songs I heard on the radio in middle school. It all kind of is like an amalgamation of sounds that kind of have influenced how I make sound. So I guess, like I said, in a way, yes and no, because it does stem from a subconscious collection of things that I've experienced in my life, but it still comes from my mind.
Sure. Yeah. Very great points. Allison, I think you.
Oh, my
have some
strong
thoughts?
feelings about it.
Yes.
Yeah, I feel like this is a conversation I've had many times. And it also, I feel like the other thing that it brings up in my mind, which is maybe not as relevant, but painters specifically, my undergraduate degree is in painting. And so painters will also often say like, painting is dead, painting's never good, everything's already been done. And I feel like that's like such a narrow perspective. And it's, yeah, I agree with what Katarra said about, yeah, you made it yourself, so it's different. Even if like the same people are making the exact same thing, it's going to turn out differently, just because of their experiences and their ideas of the way you process things, and also just because like literally they're physically different. Their hands weren't rubber banded together and drawing at the same time, so like they are both original. I mean, I think that's super valid. I just think I think that's just such a narrow viewpoint to say that nothing's original. That's like saying, I don't know. I think I have a hard time with that question also because I appropriate art. I cut up things and I've had a lot of pushback over the years of the things that I cut up and put back together. And so, it strikes a little bit closer to home because I'm not like drawing my own work and then cutting it up. I'm cutting up what already exists and I'm making something new out of it. So that's probably one of the reasons why I've got a lot of feelings about it.
I feel that, man. And it's like, it's still your creation because you took something and made, you pieced all those things together and made one whole piece of art. I definitely am attached to my own art. Like I do get upset about people being too inspired, AKA copying, because it's like, dude, like especially with music, like, they have legal cases with this stuff to where people will take lyrics, people will take chord progressions, melodies, and I get attached to that in a sense because it is something that came from deep within me. Again, I have intense emotions and like it is something that really came from my soul. So I do get upset and I do have attachment issues with my own art.
Yes, I agree that it's always most of the time it's original because every person is different and we're all unique, and it's impossible to not be influenced by. And now we live in a visual world, like we are bombarded by images every minute, everywhere, and so yes, but that demonstrates the incredible capacity of the brains and the human creation, because we can see everything, and we can come out with, we can make things totally different or totally unexpected from a lot of things that we all see the same, but then like each of us is going to come out with something totally different, for example. So I think yes, if he's a real artist, it's original.
Yeah.
If it's not, like Allison said, collage, I love that discipline. I love the imagination of putting things that exist in another way together. I mean, I that's something that it was one of my favorites. I don't do it much, but I admire collage immensely. So it's a proof that yes, all art is original.
I recently watched a movie trailer, and one of the things that like a critic said about it was that no two people will leave the movie theater like thinking the same thing about the movie. And I was like, that's a good movie. Like that's also like quite literally how we all live, like all of our experiences are different, even if we experience the same thing,
Exactly.
I like my philosophy on all of this is just that my work is always in conversation with other artists and other writers and work that I experience. And that's just like how, like, even just, and I don't know, I know some people, like, for example, the author, Otessa Moshfa apparently doesn't read books like fiction ever because she doesn't want to be influenced by it too much in her writing. But for me, it's like the opposite, where I need to be reading constantly because reading other people's work just inspires me so much. And like something about that energy, I like latch onto it and I immediately need to write. But yeah, but I do think I used to write a lot of essays with like quotes from other writers in my work a lot. And my mentor was like, you need to stop doing that so much because people should just read like your work, and like, so I don't know, but I like to think of art as a conversation.
I agree. I was just telling my friends that like if people give my art a chance or like give me a chance to like talk about it, it's basically giving me a chance to tell you a part of myself. And right now I'm working on a project called Home Sweet Home, which is highlighting impactful people from St. Louis that I came across in my life. And like I was like, I just feel like I want to use this as an opportunity to give, like, highlight somebody else. This is me coming from a photographer perspective, though. So I'm like, so that's also a different thing. I guess it's just all intentional because I also don't want to contribute to the erasure of like the origin of the idea, So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, great discussion, everyone. Any final thoughts on this question? Okay, well, moving on to question number 3. According to the National Endowment for the Arts 2019 study, artists are 3.9 times more likely to be self-employed than other workers. Are you self-employed? If you aren't, why not? And if you are, what are the advantages and disadvantages of being a self-employed artist?
I was able to be self-employed for a while before COVID. They kind of definitely destroyed. Boy, all artists know. But currently, I say I'm self-employed and I work the average 9 to 5 for survival reasons, bills and such like that. I guess I can say, yeah, right now I have way less flexibility in my schedule. I definitely feel like I work more than the average 9 to 5 person, because right after my, regular 9 to 5 and during my 9 to 5, I'm constantly working on my music career 24/7. I'm on manager, admin, booking agent, promoter, merchandiser, distributor, accountant, band leader, etc. So, I still got to play the gigs, schedule and have rehearsals, organize and, perform my shows. And I believe unless you have multiple streams of income as an artist, or at least have like some kind of part-time gig on the side, the struggle artist thing is real. I lived it ever since I started performing. It is a risk for me, just being an entrepreneur, my own business owner. You got to brave the sporadic income. It's ups and downs. You have times where there are festivals and shows that you can book, and then it's completely dead. But I would like to reach a point to where it is my main source of income, just still trying to figure that out while adulting. So, yeah.
I think most artists are self-employed because our system doesn't hire artists. I mean, there is no positions for artists unless it's teaching, or unless it's some organization that is working with artists. So, like, wearing all the hats in the industry. And so, which is terrible, because and because everybody needs art, and even the companies, they always looking for art, but there is no position for an artist. So if the artist intelligence, which is visual or musical, all these intelligences were valued, there were positions for artists in the world, but no opportunities. The opportunities are really limited. It's just
Yeah,
for
the
a
only
few.
opportunities we have are residencies. That's the only time I've ever been able to be a full-time musician.
Exactly. So it's sad, and that's the reason. I think it's not, trying to be self-employed and or have a business for an artist is like, when do you create? It's like you need to be your own website, updating, marketing, everything, and then you have to create at 2 a.m. and so it's like, okay, what is left of you? So I mean, I when I did the community arts training, I have teachers that where there was a time that was position for artists in the city halls, or in the city, in government. There was a time that was I think it was in the 70s, they were trying to bring art to the jails. I mean, still those programs exist, but it wasn't like in that time. Art is good for conflict, to solve conflicts. Art is good for many things, and they are always looking for an artist, but it's something like temporary. If we will be able, if we were able to be hired and be the artist of the company, we could put input in many things. No, just I mean, we can bring our intelligence to the table.
Oh, absolutely. I think that like being an artist is like such a marketable skill because of like your creative thinking and problem solving. And when you're talking about being employed by the government, I remember when I was in high school learning about FDR and like the Public Works Administration or whatever, when they like hired people to take photographs, hired people to do murals. And I'm like, man, that should still exist, like that is like a really important part of our society. And a lot of times it's nonprofits that you have to work with or do residencies and things like that to get artwork out, whereas it rather being just like a standard practice of like being a human and living, you know. And I think part of that is because the arts are devalued. We're focused so much on like math and science, which are super important, but you know, the arts I feel like is like what connects it all together. It brings math, science, and all and engineering. It brings it all together, and it's like such that it's the piece that's kind of missing in some places and in some programs. And I think that, yeah, more artists should be employed in like corporations and things like that for creative problem solving. And yeah, I didn't realize how much, I think, until I continued to work professionally, how much like an artist's brain is different than other people's brains. And yeah, like just a couple days ago, my boss came up to me and was like, hey, I'm thinking about integrating music into our space. And then just like on the spot, I was like, oh, I have like 9 ideas for that on how we could do that, you know. And it's just like, that's just how I'm thinking. I'm able to like pull those connections quickly.
I was just so I work at an ad agency, and I was just telling my team about how like I was like, why do we need people with degrees to be art directors? I was like, I know so many people in across different mediums that could be great art directors. And then I was like, and a college degree isn't needed to be one. Like to like, and this is my first time working at an agency too. So they're like, but pitches and this and that. I was like, this is my first time at an agency, and you guys literally trained me all those things. I was like, this is the perfect time for us to like give disadvantaged folks a shot. And I was like, because just because they didn't take the conventional route, that doesn't mean, you know, they're not valuable, or like, you know. I was like, because I promise you, our like creative ideas would just be if we just had more people from different backgrounds to come in. I am a 9 to 5 girl right now. Uh, I, but like there was a time where I took a break from photography, and I like just got back to doing it probably like last spring. I took a break for like 3, 4 years after my friend had passed away. And I was just like, you know, some people were like, oh, you're just doubting yourself. And I was like, you guys know I can't create good work right now. I'm not going to put the effort to. And something, you know, during those time periods, that gap, I learned a lot about myself. I got to actually really embrace other things in life. And when I got back to doing photography again, everything I learned was applied. And as a photographer who shoots like on film, I'm able to have better conversation now. Like maybe it's called maturing, I don't know, but that's my adulting journey. And like I feel like, you know, it's that saying, like if you love it, let it go, and if it's meant to be, it'll come back. But working a 9 to 5, personally, like because there's also this grind culture, like, oh, you gotta be your own boss. People are always telling me sell prints, sell prints, sell prints, you'll make a living off of it. I was like, who's packing that? Nobody. My 9 to 5, especially being neurodivergent, like it provides me some sort of structure. And I was freelancing for 2 years before I got my 9 to 5, and it was fun, but I did not have time to be a girl boss when I'm wearing like multiple different hats. So, you know, it's like kind of like what you guys said earlier. It's a lot like you're not just doing one job, you're wearing so many different hats as a freelancer, or, you know, being self-employed too. So, I don't know, like I feel like I just took this as a cushion for me and give me some sort of foundation up until, because I don't know, like, you know, back to like what I was saying about grind culture, like people always think like you have to be your own boss. And I was like, working for somebody doesn't mean, you know, you're like just there for labor. You can learn from them too. That's an advantage I would take. Like everything to me is a learning opportunity, whether if it's on a job, a fight with somebody, a TV show, you know, like you just gotta, yeah, like I don't know, it just depends. It's what you make out of it.
Yeah. Um, I have a sort of writing related job, but I work as a professional writing tutor at St. Louis Community College. And so it's a very chill gig. It's part-time. I mean, I do some freelance writing on the side, but you don't get paid for that. And I've accepted a long time ago that I'll never make any money from my work. And if I do, that'll be crazy. But yeah, but part of me, I really kind of feel that I don't want to connect my writing with money. Like I don't want that to be the goal, because I think that would then you start to, do you know what I mean? Like I want it to be in that,
100% agree.
I just want it to be in that pure space forever where I'm just making it because it's this special thing, and I don't want it to be connected to big elite money people, you know? And I just think that is an evil space. I don't want them to combine.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think that totally makes sense. And I think for me, there's definitely been times when I'm like, ooh, that would sell really well. And then I'm like, oh God, no, stop. You know,
Yeah.
like they're definitely, yeah, I love that. I wish I could embrace that more. Because I definitely like make prints to sell and things like that. But yeah, when it gets down to it, yeah, it's really not for the money. Like, so I think that's, yeah,
I
totally.
like, damn, I forgot what I was gonna say. I am so sorry. Brain fart. Oh, we're talking about doing art for the money. Yeah, like even though I got back into doing photography again last year, it's only been my personal work just because I'm like trying to take it easy. But I noticed in the past when I would do like editorial work, it was fun, you know, I get it. Like they pay for you for your time, your labor. I was like, but I really want to do something like that I like. I was like, you know, I'm not saying people's ideas are bad, it's not at all, but I was like, if I could put my energy towards this, you know, my idea, like I'm going to do that. But, you know, I still like, you know, express my gratitude for people who like my work and like that style and want it. But you know, I extend my gratitude and then I try to find somebody that would better fit their either their project or their looks, their location even, and you know, because I also feel like there's a bag for everybody too. We're all in this together.
Awesome. Well, thank you, everyone. Any final thoughts on this topic?
I also want to say I'm kind of in between towards just like, of course, I'm doing it out of the pureness of just self-expression, but I want to make a living doing what I love. God darn it.
That was
I'm
exactly what I
aware.
was going to say, because I don't want to do anything else. I wanna do something. I wanna get better and better and better. So you know, if I practice every day, I can be better. And I want to do. I want to live comfortable in a way. And I want to get paid for what I know, because it's knowledge, it's experience, it's a lot of things that I know that I can transfer through my art, or well, and my degree as an architect. But definitely want to be value and pay doing what I love. I'd rather spend my 9 to 5 doing something that I love that had to compensate with other things. But yes, it's difficult to get that balance point.
Imagine if we live in a world where all our needs were met. We would not be worried about
Yeah.
this
First
right
world
now.
problems.
Yes,
You know,
and the thing is, we can live with some. We don't need too much to live with. You know, we don't need, like a human being doesn't need a lot of things, millions and millions of dollars to live, to be happy,
right, like
or to
that's why I
have.
was saying like I hate like how artists have to be like starved, or whatever, or like that, you know,
Starving
that image
artist.
even exists, because like why do, like, why do we, like, why do artist skills like get undervalued, or it's easy or whatever? Like, nobody's bashing them on what these corporations do. I mean, well, we do, but I feel like everybody, like, we're in an ecosystem and everything intersects. So I feel like that's why it's important to embrace like everything, even if you don't think it's valuable. Art is so valuable.
What would this world be without it? Like, it'd be a bland, sad world, man.
For sure.
Right.
Agreed. All right, so on to question number 4. So this one has like 12 questions into one question. So feel free to answer which ones you can remember that I've asked. In the same National Endowment for the Arts study, they analyzed the average age of artists, and the median age across any gender was 41 years old. Does that reflect your experience in the art world, especially as it relates to women in their 40s? Regardless of your current age, has your art gotten better, in your opinion, as you've aged? When did you first identify yourself as an artist? And will you continue into art into your 40s and older?
Wow, that's a lot.
So many questions. I will repeat any questions you cannot remember.
I get lost trying to make notes about the questions.
Well, I guess I'll go. Are you going, Luisa?
No,
Okay.
not yet.
I wrote my answers down because I was like, I'm so introverted and awkward. I would just be sitting here stumbling over it. So I wrote, does this reflect my experience? No, this is actually news to me. And it's extremely, like, that's awesome news to me. And it gives me hope, because, I'm 30 and I can definitely say that I've improved as I've gotten older. I'm more confident in the presentation of my art to an audience, more experienced, more self-assured in my abilities. I'm more loyal to my convictions, my discipline and boundaries. And it's kind of coincided with the growth of like a healthy self-esteem and a self-image that I got as I got older. Because I started off with terrible straight stage fright. Like, you couldn't sit me in front of a group of even 5 people when I was 23 and have me perform the same way I do now. Now I'm comfortable performing in front of thousands of people, because as I got older, I got more comfortable in my skin and with my art. I first identified myself as an artist professionally when I started earning income from it. So that talks about the value thing. But yes, I should have recognized my value then, even before I got paid for it when I was doing the free shows. But I've always identified, personally to myself, I've identified myself as an artist since I was 12, because I was always drawing, always writing lyrics, always writing poetry, music, painting, playing any kind of instrument. And as far as they say mastering your craft takes time, and it's always room for growth. So I'm super eager to see how I create as I grow older. Like, I'm eager to see like where my mind frame is going to be. I kind of compare it to like Dragon Ball Z and Pokemon. It's like, oh, I have yet to reach my final form.
Yes.
It's like I'm witnessing my evolution, like the older I get, and it's like all these different versions of myself. So it's good to know that like with time, I'm going to get better. So I'm looking forward to getting older and just seeing how awesome I am as an artist, mastering my craft.
I think that's great. I also sometimes refer to myself as trying to get to my quote unquote final form. And yeah, so that's hilarious. That's great. Right on par with me. And I also am super excited to get old. When I first turned 30, I was so excited to turn 30. I was like, yes, And now that I'm like 34, I'm just like, yeah, bring it on, bring it on. I think that like lifelong learning is something that I'm also really invested in. And I think that, yeah, as I age, things are going to change in my artwork. And it's definitely, I'm going to be able to incorporate more of my experiences and the skills that I've learned over time into my artwork. And also, I think I get better at explaining it, which sometimes is the hardest part for me, is talking about it. And as you can see, I like talking a lot now. I used to not so much. So, and then when I first kind of like decided I was an artist, 7th grade, Mrs. Coombs class, I drew some apples and she was like, wow, you're a really good artist. And I will never forget that as long as I live. And I still have that stupid little apple drawing. And, you know, like ever since then, that's just been in my mind. You're an artist, you're an artist. And I had a lot of really supportive teachers, and my parents are really supportive, and a lot of adults in my life who helped me pursue my artistic interest. And so I'm super, super fortunate in that regard, that from an early age, I identified as that and I was able to continue to pursue that. Yeah. And yeah, I think it's great that the median age is 41. I feel like sometimes it can be discouraging to see like people younger than me who have like gallery shows and are selling more work. And so like seeing that like the median age is 41, I'm like, all right, there's time. You got it. It's all right, girl.
Well, I have been identified myself as an artist since I remember, since my childhood. And like I mentioned, my family there was always paintings of my aunts in my grandma's house, and there was beautiful oil paintings, like, wow. Yes, always one of have great experiences as a child artist, for real. I was part of some mural projects in the city of Medellin, which my aunt was the owner of the Child Academy. So I was part of one of the oldest. I was one of the most responsible artists there. So that was amazing. And then when I was my time to choose a career, I chose architecture because art wasn't going to give me enough money so to live. So I decided it was also related or kind of, but but no, the same. Even in architecture school, everybody tells me, why you don't go to art school? Like, because I always put color in the blueprints and everywhere, like in the projects everywhere. So it was always everybody, why you're not in art school?
You don't need it. My God, your stuff is amazing. You don't need it. You don't need it at all.
Thank you.
Wow.
So, but then yes, the median age, no, when I was 40, I wasn't painting. So for me, that doesn't apply because I was doing something else, but it's still, admiring and still kind of, feeding myself with art every day. Like I used to go to the museums, like with my son, just, because it's a place where I love what I see. And, if I feel like, he's safe, he was safe in that place. He didn't complain as much when I go to the museum that when I went to Marshall, he hated Marshall. So I go to the museum and he loves the history museum too. So he has autism, but he hated Marshall. Like I couldn't even think about going to that place. He was like, putting the brakes in his stroller. I couldn't get there. So but the museums were a little more friendly for him. So, and he loves the History Museum here in St. Louis. So it's an amazing place. So yes, it didn't happen for me, and I hope it gets better. I always get amazed with, like a 80 years old Cuban artist has her first exhibition in New York. Okay, I have hope. Great. I don't care. I mean, it's my time to paint. I am, it's a time for everything, and I don't. I am not pressed, and like you say, I wish I would be like a young artist like you all are. I started at your age, but I had to do other things, and I was doing it. So, yeah, it didn't apply for me, but the important is that you were, do what you do with conviction when it's your time.
Yeah, hi. I
Oh no, you go first. You go first.
okay. I just wanted to add, like, I think that, well, okay, so it's kind of, so I have a music side and a writing side, right? And so I feel like in music, like particularly like indie rock scene, everyone's really, really young. And like that can be hard sometimes. Like I'm like, oh, I'm not gonna be in my 20s anymore soon. I guess that's it for me or whatever. But obviously, you know, there's so many amazing musicians I look up to that are really old and still kicking it. And same, but with writing, I feel like it's a little different. Like I feel like women writers, you know, like, you know, think about like Toni Morrison. I don't think she put out her first book until she was in her 40s. And so, and a lot of my favorite women writers are in their 60s. And even filmmakers, one of my favorite filmmakers is Agnes Varda, and she was making films until she was in her 90s. And so I think I really view myself, I mean, art for me is survival, right? And so I think I'll just be making it forever, because if I don't, there's like something inside of me that needs to do it. So if I don't think that it will ever stop.
Mhm.
I definitely want to piggyback off you, Della, as far as like the music industry is extremely sexist and ageist. So like I'm turning 31 on March 21st, and I panic like, oh, you know, what if I don't get signed because I'm not 25 and all that kind of stuff. But it's just like, I'm gonna keep making my music till my hands fall off. And then you got, you know, the fashion designer side. I'm kind of in that same, I'm not really dilemma to where I know that I don't have to worry about my age when it comes to fashion and things like that. But I'm definitely going to be doing it till my hands fall off.
I don't think men musicians have to worry about that
Nope,
as much. And I
nope,
think it's
not at
because
all.
of like optics, like marketing, of like being a younger, like hotter girl is like a popular thing for music and selling it. Oh man, it's messed up. That's
Yeah.
A lot
about
of
it.
projection. A
Yeah,
lot of projection.
I was definitely going to bring up, I wonder if what the median age is for men. Like, is it
Yeah.
41 or is it higher or lower? Like, where does that fall? And I think also factors not only like, you know, younger musicians are more marketable or whatever, but also like, they don't have, younger women aren't given as many opportunities, or they're like pushed into like motherhood and things like that, or they choose family over career, which is absolutely valid, you know, so maybe that pushes the age range higher up. It really just like, there's a lot of other factors that I think socially women have to, like, we have to take into account, as opposed to men who are more like socially career driven, you know. So I think that like that age, that average age is going to be really different for men and women. I don't know for sure. Anna, do you have the answer to that? Putting you on the spot.
I started looking since you
Okay.
asked, so I will chime back in.
Okay, great.
when
Yeah.
I find that. Yeah. Any other thoughts for? I muted myself while I was talking. Any other thoughts for this question, Trina? We can add anything?
I was just gonna say I'm Gen Z, so I'm pretty sure I scare away like anybody in their 40s. And I work in social media, so like I'm literally on my phone all day teaching people how to use. Today I taught somebody how to use TikTok, for example, you know. But me personally, like, I don't know, somebody told me I give them April Ludgate from Parks and Rec vibe. She's the intern that's always like she has, yeah, she
I've
has
seen
this
it.
year old face. And somebody told me I give them that, and I was like, how? I tried to be as approachable as possible. Basically, I kind of want to be that bridge between, you know, like Gen Z and the older generations, just because like I was in this Uber ride, and like the man was in his 70s, and I don't know, I feel like as somebody who's young, we're always like, you know, it's just history is repeating themselves. Like the older generation is always looking down, a younger generation don't know what to do about us and all of that. But I'm here to tell you, like, the kids are fine, and let us show you how. And that meeting, that Uber driver in particular, I will never forget him. It was so nice to hear somebody that's older folks telling, like, seeing history repeating itself and letting you know, like, and like telling you, like, you're not going crazy. You, like, what you see is real and we believe in you. And that was basically the scope of the conversation with him and I. And like, yeah, so basically, it just too long, didn't read. I want to be that bridge because I feel like, you know, even I don't look down on the younger generation, of TikTok. And like, because like they're our future, like sadly, like, whether you like it or not, our future is in their hands too. So like you had to embrace them rather than just nagging at them and having these millennial, like these generation wars, because I'm getting tired of it. I see it every day. And but also, as far as like when did I discover myself like as an artist, I think I was probably like 11. I just touched Photoshop for the first time. And I'm creating digital art. This is a whole different realm, you guys. So, but do I plan on being an artist until I hit my, like, past my 40s? Yeah, if, if life lets me. But I think now that with where I want to go in life right now, I feel like my art has taken me to places and meet people and um, gain a lot of different experiences. And I kind of just want to build on the abstract part of art right now. And I don't know. Basically, I'm looking to go back and study sociology. Like, and just build better connections. I think that's my main goal, is to just build connections and make an impact. And I don't know, like, I'm also like really, like, I don't know, I just feel like I don't really know how to operate in the world just yet, especially as somebody so young. So like, I'm just trying to find where I fit. I think that's something I've became better at, is whether if it's as an artist or just a human being, is following my guts. And yeah, I don't know, keeping it simple. Sorry, that was a lot. Sorry.
It's okay. I did check. They do not divide it by gender and age. And I'm looking at sort of the summary of these like sources. So I'm not sure how, if you go to like the source material, if they would break it down. Interestingly enough, though, 85% of librarians are women. So interesting library fact, which I do actually think reflects the library that I work at. I do think, I would say that's probably pretty accurate, but 75% of architects are men, and 67% of musicians are men as well. So super male dominated, but writers and authors, female dominated, and dancers, choreographers, and photographers are also women dominated. So little bit of balance. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah.
The photographer part?
I was gonna say film
Yeah,
industry.
Wow. That
Film
is
industry is
so
men.
wild.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But you all have nothing to worry about, because all of the median age, even besides dancer, which kind of makes sense, a little bit hard on your body, but all of the other ones, even a category just labeled other entertainers, are all 30 and up. So nothing to worry about. Our I think the oldest is musician, which is 45.
Cool.
So it's looking good for everyone in this group. Everyone will continue to be an artist. All right, so moving on to question number 5. We just have 2 questions left. So number 5, intersectionality is something that is often overlooked and left out of the conversation. Case in point, the data I just looked at does not kind of combine gender and age and race and location, education. It's just kind of divided. So it's something that's left out. How does intersectionality of your identity affect your work and your career?
Um, I was gonna say, like, I don't know, I don't really talk about my experiences a lot. Like, I'm just learning to do it, but like, you know, although like I'm Vietnamese, I'm Asian, like I'm a minority, yes, but I still have like my own privileges. And even growing up in low income and going to the St. Louis Public School District, I could talk about her for days, but that's a different conversation. But um I don't know, like it really I just learned to embrace that upbringing, but something I'm struggling with is like survivor guilt. You don't have to be in a deadly situation to deal with survivor guilt. When you been like live in bad conditions and be around kids who are living in similar or worse conditions, like it almost feels kind of like you're fighting or flighting all the time. And, I know we deal with imposter syndrome, but like on top of being imposter syndrome, being in my workplace right now, like I really, I feel like I'm leaving some like dead bodies behind all the time because like I wish I could bring like my classmates and like my friends and my neighbors like with me because I'm very grateful for my life. I don't mean to brag or anything, but like 10 years ago, I would not have like been in this position today. And I'm very grateful, but I don't know. That's why I don't understand the people who are like, oh, if I can make it out, so can they. And I was like,
Right.
yeah,
I hate
everybody.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, they say, oh, everybody has the same 24 hours. I was like, but not everybody has the same resources. I was like, bro, we didn't even have social studies in 8th grade. Seriously, my high school, we didn't have AC. I'm sorry, I am still hurt by this, and I'm still going to talk about it. How do you expect us to function properly? And, I had, like, I guess, I don't know, I don't mean to trauma dump on you guys, but like, I feel like just growing up in those like just very poor conditions, it can have a lot on your psyche. And my family, they immigrated here, and my dad was just telling me he has PTSD from living in poor condition back there too. And I don't know, I feel like that's something I'm trying to take into my work right now, like to unravel those things, but also remember like where did this originated from, which is why being a photographer and having my grandfather who got me into this, like um I don't know, I feel like it's a legacy I want to keep going.
Mhm.
And um like my main goal with my work is to, like I said, make an impact, like inspire people to take change and make a decision, like I always have friends who tell me like, oh, you should do TED Talk, you should tell people all these things, these advice you give us. I was like, no, how about you just take it and implement it into your life? And not everything needs to be like, I don't know. I was like, not everything needs to be like, I feel like that's just emotionally draining, So that's one thing. But yeah, like I don't know. I feel like right now with as far as like my identity, I think my art is to not only to help inspire and like people to make a decision, but also to preserve like history. And also I am so sorry, brain fart. Like I I'm gonna leave it there.
Your brain's doing amazing stuff. Don't worry
Thank
about it.
you.
Well, I'm definitely gonna trauma dump only because it's basically, the question in itself. That's my entire life. So I was diagnosed with complex PTSD. Uh, so I say that, it has affected my whole life. Being a woman, being black, being a black woman, being introverted. And I'm if I trigger anybody, or I'm not trying to dump all this stuff on y'all, but I just feel like this is an opportunity for me to just kind of get into depth of why I even created in the first place. It was a lot of dynamics at play before I was even conscious of my own self. And now as an adult with 30 years of experience on this earth, I still feel like my reality or my perception of reality is different from a lot of people. And being diagnosed with that, you know, has made sense of everything that I've experienced and how I view reality different from just the average person. Why I'm more hypersensitive and why my emotions are more intense than the average person because of what I went through. I love, it's just something that I've kind of just battled my whole life on a lot of levels. Again, it's a lot of different dynamics, being Black, being a woman, being dark skinned, having natural hair, African features. I was in a world and I was socially engineered to believe that in this physical world, my dreams of becoming an artist or and especially a musician was unattainable due to these physical things about me. I feel like my light was dimmed at a very young age, which is the root of my stage fright and social anxiety. I had a lot of lack of belief in my own self. I wasn't grounded in who I was. I hid my art, like I would draw, I would only play music when people left the house. I would hide everything from everybody because I was used to not being heard. I was used to being criticized and judged for everything about myself. And like even from my own family, and I can say for 99% of my existence, I've navigated this world and faced a lot of abuse, a lot of ostracization, a lot of being left out and made to feel like I wasn't worthy. I was told and believed that I was too dark, I was too Black, my hair wasn't good, my nose wasn't right, I was too poor. I was from a working class, poor family, went to public school. I was too quiet and introverted. So it's just like, why the heck did I choose to be a musician? Which is like, it requires the exact opposite of everything that I perceive myself to be. Like the media and music itself, like portrayed this belief. My peers enforced it on me. The adults in my life allowed it to happen. And it's like by me being an outcast, like that's how I fell in love with art in the first place. Like I found solace in like escaping the reality I was in. I initially made music and made art to escape from my reality. Like I would draw princesses and I would draw myself as a princess and a fashion model and the main love interest in the love story because I didn't see that representation on TV. I didn't see a dark-skinned Black woman with natural hair being the, you know, the beauty standard. And I feel like I was escaping European beauty standards and stuff by creating my own standard of beauty. I escaped being poor by drawing luxury fashion designs and writing songs about a life that I wish I had. I love gowns. My mom, she was super resourceful, single mother raising 4 kids. And she found a way to like be one of the most fashionista people I've ever witnessed in my life. She shopped on a budgeting system that included thrift stores and clearance racks. And she had this huge closet of like the most beautiful clothes and shoes I've ever seen, jewelry, accessories, perfume. And I would just watch her try on clothes and I would play in her clothes. And then I ended up just drawing my own. And coming from a Black Southern Christian family, I was head deep into music from the moment I came here. Like my mom's a choir director and she's one of the best singers I've ever heard in my life, like Whitney Houston level singer. Like I'm not exaggerating, you can listen to her yourself. And it's like the beauty of it all is that my family on both my mom and my dad's side, like they were all artists, but they didn't have that chance. Like you said, Trina, that survival guilt. Oh, I'm trying to cry now because they didn't have the privilege of being able to even do art on the side. Like all they did was work from paycheck to paycheck. But they were all singers, musicians, painters, hairdressers. And it's like I see now in hindsight that that's how they dealt with their pain. That's how they dealt with being a minority, being a Black working class person. And being raised on the other side, the poor side of the Delmar divide. Like even being poor and Black in St. Louis itself has kind of molded who I am as an artist and as a musician. And it was like by me not only trying to escape that reality, but also expressing how I felt in that reality, that's how I became an artist. So I know that was a lot, but that I had to share that with people.
Thank you for sharing. I say this all the time, like St. Louis builds character.
Oh man, yeah.
Like I lived in New York and like they would try to punk me all the time. I was like, you must not know where I come from. it's my the way my friends describe St. Louis based off my stories is that it feels like a fever dream. It feels like a fever dream. You never know what's gonna hit you. You know. Ooh, sorry. That was Spotify's working again.
Any other thoughts on this question?
Well, I think it definitely my identity influenced my art, but I never think about it. I mean, it's like I can tell. If I think about my identity, it's like, oh, she's Latina. Oh, she's Hispanic. Okay, what that means? That doesn't say anything about me. Well, other than I speak Spanish, habla español, and it was born in a South American country. Because okay, I am a fusion of races, and when I feel, see, my origin is indigenous and Afro-descendant and from Spain, and people from Spain, so the colonizers. So it is sometimes it's not like not too good to think about it. I know some things that happened a long time ago, but is when you start to see to learn a little bit about ancestry and things like that. Like it's like you are a fusion of the oppressed and the oppressor. If you see like that, you go really that back. But what I am is like I am a person that grew up in a country close to the Caribbean, happy people around, music was important, and we dance, so as much as we can. We love, we're close to nature. So I grew up in a very, in terms of nature and in a beautiful environment. My country is very diverse, and I value all of the experiences and all of the um all everything that is my country. Even if you try to put my country in a movie like Encanto, is no way to do, because it's not only one part of Colombia that is can say this is Colombia, because we are like a mix of everything. So my identity is like I don't know, like I don't know, because I love guitar and flamenco, and I love Indian flute, I love drums, and I, like I said, I am very sensitive, and I feel it in my in my body when I hit a drum, and I love when I see African dancing. I dance, and so it is like I have so many things, and it's difficult. It's no way to put it in only one word. And so I think I can tell I have multiple identities, and they are all in my work and in my art, and because they are part of my life and they are part of who I am and how I respond to the world. Now, when you come here, and then I became one identity that I never knew, and I never thought, I never dreamed to be an immigrant, right? So I'm an immigrant, and you know, so far I was a daughter, I was a student, I was a mother, I was an architect, a professional, and then I became an immigrant, and it's like I am other kind. So, but like I think I have been busy. Probably my son kept me busy and grounded. That don't let me just go places where I can, you know, that to be negative and to be depressed or think everything that was happening to me, you know. No, I am always in the optimist side. I always I value this experience to come in to live in the USA because it helped my son, it helped my life with him, and I met the most generous people and the most great people in the journey. And so yes, we had this Hispanic month, you know, like out where the same, like, you know, Black History Month, and it's like, okay, I wish I would be just an artist, but I appreciate the attention, and I appreciate the privilege, and I appreciate the, you know, that there is some attention, and there's like a knowledge of, okay, this is part of, so no, this is part of this. But it's amazing when we can see history for real, you know, how many years ago, and you know, maybe 2 centuries ago, there were Mexicans in St. Louis and in Missouri. It's not like, you know, it wasn't yesterday, and it wasn't, and how, you know, that have influenced even St. Louis. Actually, we're going to try to make some lectures in Hispanic Month about that. So I think even without being like kumbaya, I think this war is so bad, you know, labeling and, you know, putting boxes in people, that shouldn't be like that. And it's sad that that put people in you know, individuals in bad places, and don't let them flourish. But art is definitely something that helps, and should be more appreciated as a tool for survival, and come up, you know, come out of negative situations.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you everyone for sharing. Delia, Allison, any last thoughts on this question?
I don't think I can add anything to the conversation, but thank you for asking.
Sure.
I will say the literary and publishing industry is pretty much run by white women. And so sometimes I feel like I don't even care that much if I ever get a book published, because I feel like white women already take up so much space in that area. I know that's kind of maybe a bad way to view it, but whatever. But I am also a Jewish woman, and I didn't think about I feel like I grew up, since I live in Missouri a lot, like there's not a lot of Jewish people around. So I was like, oh, I don't think about being Jewish very much, but I spent a lot of time researching my Jewish background when I was writing my thesis. And so I ended up writing a lot about it, and learning about that I did have family that died in the Holocaust. And so I don't know, that kind of trauma and genocide and does impact my work. That's my brief answer.
Sure. Thank you for sharing. All right, so we don't have too much time left here, but with the little less than 15 minutes we have here, we have our final question. We do have one question in our Q&A, but we'll go ahead and answer our final panel question. Again, any of our attendees, if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the Q&A or in the chat, and we'll be getting to them soonish. So our final question, simply worded, but probably a big can of worms. What is the goal with creating art, and is there one?
Man, there is no goal. It's all impulsive action for me. Like I said earlier, it's cathartic. Well, for me personally, like 90% of the time, it's just me releasing some kind of energy that I was having inside of me. I feel something, I hear something, I see something in my head, I visualize it, then I make it a reality. And of course, it is a part of me that intrinsically knows it's a purpose. Like, I found out that me sharing this impacts people emotionally. So I guess that's kind of the, roundabout purpose to it, is like impacting humanity, healing others, and stuff like that.
I like if I think something, I just have to do it. Maybe it's my brain, my ADHD brain's always like, yeah, you gotta do it. But I do think about you know, like you guys mentioned, the intent and like the harm that it could cause. So as like, I don't know, I think my main goal is to just be mindful about what I create, especially as a photographer. You don't ever want to exploit people. I wish people would stop thinking storytelling is taking a photo of someone and sharing their trauma. There's more to storytelling, and I hope like I can use my art to show people my growth as even if it's something visually creative. And I don't know, like overall, like art is to just like if you're a doer, just you just do it. And like I don't know, the impact that like my main goal is to just get it out of me, especially like if you've been policed growing up to not do a certain thing or not look a certain way, not talk a certain way, all those things, you know how like restricting it is? Like I think like I don't know, it feels like somebody's like got a bunch of rubber bands and like put them on me and I feel like I'm ready to explode. So art allows me to do that without in my own ways. And there's so many different ways. Like, you don't have to stick to one medium. It's to just I don't know, like just find what you like, and there's really no one reason. But
Just transmuting energy, like good energy, bad
yeah, like
energy.
just
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, like just transmuting it. I saw that Otero video that was on your home screen. I was
Oh,
just watching that one
yeah.
too.
Yes, hippie spiritual.
I answered this question, what's my goal? Is communicating. My goal is it's really just communicating my experience. And then through that communication, I hope that I can, Trina's been saying archiving history, and the whole time I'm just like, yes, because like that's another goal, is to archive reality of right now, and also the past, like, and archiving memories. And then I guess through all of that, hopefully the goal can also be that can be community and shared experience can be felt by others.
Yeah, because like if you don't like, I don't know, you guys know Curtis Taylor Jr., but he's a director of photography from St. Louis too. And he always told me like, if you don't tell your story, they will. And whoever they are, they're gonna tell it wrong. So like, we don't have a lot of control in the world, like, about the way we're treated. I was like, but we do have control. Like storytelling is not just like sharing something. It's allowing people to reclaim their identity, their culture, and to celebrate it and amplify it from their straight from the source. And I hope I can do honor and preserve that and help other people preserve their own history, no matter yeah, like that's the way I see with archiving and whatnot. Like, it's so easy because we have the internet and, nothing leaves the internet, right? But like, there's also still like other forms that we had to like maintain. And I don't know, I just hope like we don't lose value, like those things don't lose value.
Yeah, that's why I highly respect writers so much, because all this stuff can break down, the internet can shut down, but books, you have to have that documentation, man.
You gotta have soul. I'm telling people to stop
Yeah.
using Instagram as their only gallery. Like I was like, there's got to be something beyond this, and this is coming from somebody who spends all day on Twitter, and like, I think that's what art really helps me does. Like, it really brings me back to earth, just because like me personally, I'm not working with anything digital, and like I'm able to focus on creating and actually having my work requires me to do a lot of conversing with photographing someone, so I could just focus and be in the moment.
Thank you everyone for sharing. We have a couple minutes left. Allison, Luisa, if you have any thoughts for this question.
Allison?
Okay, sure. I try to sometimes be the person who doesn't volunteer first because I'll always talk first. But I think for me, I think communication for sure. I think what Delia was said about communicating is a primary objective. And I also think, and this is going to sound so silly, but I always like the idea of art as an act of prayer. I'm not religious, so I don't practice any religion, but I think that like sentiment is really powerful. It's like a very specific form of communication. And I think that a lot of it can be really therapeutic. And so prayer in my mind is like a very therapeutic sort of thing to participate in. And it's also trying to communicate your wants and needs. And so I think that, yeah, when it comes down to it, it's really for me about communicating, whether it's like apparent or not apparent. I mean, there's so many subtleties when you're creating a thing, and other people's experiences when they bring it to when they're reading your work or hearing your work. And so the way that's transmitted and received is, I think, really important. I think also growing up, I had a hard time talking. Believe it or not. I remember when I was in college, the first time that I sat down with my aunt and uncle and had dinner with them, and they're like, oh, wow, you do say things. It was like the first time we had ever had a chance. I grew up in a really chaotic, loud household, and I had an older bossy sister and then a little sister who was really funny. And so I just like, there wasn't a lot of space for me to talk. There wasn't a lot of space for me to share. And so art really became an important communication for me to share and express my feelings when I wasn't able to otherwise.
Yes, for me, art is expression. I know it could be very similar to communication, but expression is like, because it's could be feelings, it could be more than words. It's like sometimes it's silence. Sometimes, most of the time, I love music, but I love to paint in silence too. So for me, it could be also like a meditation. But the goal is to express and hopefully touch souls, but no, it's not like essential to me if that happen. But it's the most important is that I express something. And visual art is kind of, like I say, quiet, like, even, well, that's what we think. We go to the galleries and we be quiet. So it's unbelievable how things, just get in certain way forever and don't change or don't. But yes, it's good to admire a painting in silence, but it's also good, to talk to who is next to you to see what, and I just think about Van Gogh. Look what is happening. The feelings and all the feelings of this person, and translated in his paintings, and then years, hundreds years later, is like this person that is still making people vibe with his colors and his palettes and his paintings. So it's just unbelievable what can happen. We don't know.
Thank you everyone for sharing. We have one last question here that's actually an audience question in our Q&A from Jenna. It says, for artists in the area struggling to meet others, to collaborate, peer review, or seek internship, where would you direct them?
Um, I, s- I, s- I like found all of my friends on social media. So like following like-minded people, um, like also like LinkedIn has helped me a lot. Like if you're looking, like it depends on what your medium is too and what you're doing and what your goal is. Like um I found like I do like little coffee chats with people. I used to reach out and like sometimes people will reach out to me and have those little sessions to pick their brains and whatnot. And what else? Like LinkedIn. It honestly depends on your goal because like yeah, like I don't know, but I mainly use social media, like Facebook groups. Mm, and Twitter. Like I always like try to look at Twitter hashtags and threads and see like where all the events are or like yeah, if there's any meetups and whatnot. And like following like organizations like working in advertising, I follow AIGA, which is like a organization for people in the industry, and they'll have like workshops and whatnot. So yeah, I'm sorry that was like a little bit too broad.
That's okay. Any other thoughts on this question?
I,
I'm oh, go ahead, go ahead.
there is, if it's visual artists, visual, there is a group in Facebook, there is a San Luis Arts Network, and there is all type of artists, and there is also two groups there of people that say we're going to draw, you know, this type of art, we're going to get together and do this, or just go to openings of other artists. I think one of the things that is important is support each other. I think so just going to places or openings of other artists, so you can meet artists, because most of the time their artists and the families are the ones in the openings. So and the friends of the artists. Um, so there is always networks, like for Hispanic or Latino artists. We have a Latin Arts STL network, and we meet once a month at the third Friday of the month. I'm sorry, third Wednesday of the month, and we have a Facebook page also.
Great, thank you. Allison, Katarra, Delia put a link for DIY music in the chat.
I was just gonna say, I've met photographers, painters, musicians, artists of all mediums, ironically at open mics. Open mics, art galleries, like they were saying, find an event on Facebook, on social media, because I'm telling you, like we all hang out together. Like that's I'm super introverted, and me going to the local gallery or going to a local open mic here in St. Louis, I've met and have networked with so many different artists. I found my photographers that way. I found graphic designers that way. So I just say go out. If you're not super scared, go out and meet the people in those spaces. Any creative space, you're going to find an artist, definitely.
Absolutely. I was going to echo the same thing. Yeah, going to events and also going to unusual events that you might not particularly have thought of or considered going to before. Like for a while, my partner was taking improv classes, and I met cool artists and people there, people that I didn't, I hadn't considered. My point was to support my partner, but man, I still got some things out of it. Sorry, there's a bug in my room. And then also taking classes. Like that sounds dorky, but I'm in a ceramics class right now and I love my teacher. She's like 23 and she's just incredible. And I'm just like so inspired by her. And I love the other people in my class. And it's really helped like connect me with people that I wouldn't normally be in touch with. We just all happen to have the same interest in this one little niche art area. And so it helped me like get outside my comfort zone and meet some new people in like a really safe, controlled environment. So if you are apprehensive and have a hard time connecting, like a structured activity makes it really easy to interact with others.
Sure. Thank you for sharing. All those are really great suggestions. Thank you, Jenna, for your question. It looks like we don't have any other questions. We're just a little bit over 8. So thank you for those of us that were hanging on as we answered all of our questions. Thank you to our panelists for your thoughtful, insightful answers to these questions. A great, respectful discussion. Really, really productive. I appreciate you so much for being here tonight. I thank you to our attendees for being very respectful watchers and having great comments as well. We will have, again, more programs for Women's History Month going on. And then in May, we will have another artist panel for AAPI month. And then in June for Pride Month. So thank you all for joining us and have a great night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.